This week's vlog from CCM, Carole Carnie's ministry, is being shot from Yosemite, California. It is beautiful up here. It's clear. Although it's hot, because we're doing the shoot by the water, it is so comfortable. Last week we came from Catalina Islands, and I vaguely mentioned that we would be discussing diversity is more about who we are than what we do. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this vlog. I am so excited because I have dedicated this ministry to take on those difficult issues. We're not going to shy away from it, because I believe that if we are a family, we want to meet the needs of the whole family. And so I'm going to be addressing those issues that may be a little uncomfortable for some, that may be downright, some may not even see why it needs to be discussed. But for those of us who it impacts our lives and we live it on a day-to-day basis, I dare to say it's important. So we're going to dig into diversity, how it is within the churches, how it is within our communities, and how it affects us on our jobs. And so before we get started with that, I'd like to thank you for tuning in again and hearing what is on the heart of Carole Carnie. As I was attempting to gain some insight as to what the Bible's position is on diversity, I believe that I was inspired to read the book of Ephesians. Ephesians is written by Paul, and it's believed to be written when he was incarcerated in Rome, and he was writing it to the church of Ephesus. And he was saying to the people that he believed that there was a mystery yet to be revealed in the Bible that the apostles and the disciples hadn't discussed yet. But he strongly believed that this was the basis for his ministry. And that mystery was that the gospel was to be taken to the Gentiles. He believed that they were heirs of the gospel as well. Now think about this. The Gentiles were considered heathens. They were uncircumcised. They ate unclean foods. Yet, Paul believed strongly that this was his ministry. Now, for me, my passion is diversity. So you can see why I was just so excited that God had opened up my eyes to this part of his word. I don't believe that diversity is a choice. I believe that diversity is our mission. And yet we have some of us who may not be comfortable with it. We may not even understand why it should be discussed. But this is what God wants from all of us, to embrace one another in love. That's why he said the greatest of all his commandments is love. Because it's going to take love to overcome some of the things in which is so entrenched in us from the world. So, as we explored more deeply diversity in our homes, in our communities, and particularly in our churches, I hope that God will soften our hearts to accept his word. Now, allow me to explain what I mean when I say that diversity is more about who we are than what we do. JC and I have a passion for diversity. We love diversity in our lives from all perspectives. We love diversity in terms of, first of all, ethnically. We love diversity in terms of thought, that people think differently than we do. We love diversity from a position of our political views. We've always loved diversity because we understand that it enriches our lives and that we become better people when we embrace diversity. We strongly believe that in order for you to love someone, you have to get to understand and know them. So, I think that I can clearly say that in our lives. Let me rephrase that. in our lives, diversity is more about who we are than what we do. Now, if diversity was based on what we do, because we are Christians and I take the position that we want diversity, then our churches would be overflowing. But they're not. We have to have a love for people with different views, people who look differently than we do. And in order to do that, you have to take a look at your personal life. What does your personal life say about you? If one were to look into your life, are you surrounded with diversity? Or are you surrounded by those who think like you and look like you? Are your churches diverse? Do you have your staffing where there's diversity so you can get different perspectives? Are your worship teams diverse? Or is it just the congregation that's diverse? Because if that is the case, then that's about what you're doing and not about who you are. Because in order for all of our needs to be met, then we must have a seat at the table. And not only a seat at the table, but we must have a voice as well. So I know that this is very, very complicated discussion to have, but it is one that must be had, because as the family of God, representing God Himself, which we know that we are all created in His image, which we know that we all glorify Him and bring glory and joy to Him differently, then that says that diversity is in fact important and close to the heart of God. Believe me, I know that this is a very sensitive and it's a very difficult topic to discuss. But I've made a commitment to God and to myself that this ministry is going to be vulnerable and it's going to address those issues that will help us to grow closer to Him. I'm so hoping that you have had an open heart as I have tried to open my heart and share something that needs to be discussed. The time that we've had in this vlog is not nearly enough to really get deeply into the issue of diversity. So I'd like to invite you to read our next blog, and hopefully we can get a little bit more detail about diversity being more of who we are than what we do. I am so hoping that we've had a heart connection from my heart to your heart.
To book Carole Carnie for your event, call 888-332-6641. That's 888-332-6641.